Next, in ranking all of the FromSoft bosses is Dark Souls. So we have Demon Souls here. We'll clear that out, and we'll go with Dark Souls. First up, the classic, the Asylum Demon. The first boss for most people who didn't start with Elden Ring. And I don't see how I can rate Asylum Demon and Vanguard Demon on different tiers. So I'm gonna go C tier. I've seen a lot of people say that the Asylum Demon is this fantastic genius tutorial boss, and that the Undead Asylum plus the Asylum Demon is like the best tutorial they've ever seen in a video game. I don't agree with that. He's not bad. I think he's a good fight. I like that you can approach him in multiple ways. That always adds points for me. You can, once you've played the game a few times, or even just once, you can engage him without getting your gear first and kind of do a challenge run in that way. Or you can choose to do the plunging or not do the plunging. So that adds points for me. You can engage him and you can make a few decisions in that way. But I don't think he's really that genius of a tutorial boss. I mean, some people say he's genius because he teaches the player that if you can't overcome a challenge at first, you should leave and come back later. I think that's a bit of a stretch. I mean, you could say that about any boss that you can't kill at first, just come back later, because it's kind of an open world game. If you're struggling, you can just go somewhere else. And if anything, I could argue that it teaches you bad skills, because the plunging attack, other than the Taurus Demon, is not used on another boss, and so you might be looking for that when it's not there. And then there's an escape hatch in the middle of the arena, which you never see again in the entire series, I think. I don't think there's another boss that you can just avoid like that. Maybe Pursuer, technically, but... So I think, if anything, it might teach you some bad habits. So I'm gonna go C tier. It's an average fight, just an average. It's got the butt smash, got some swings, pretty slow. He's what you want from a first boss. Next is Taurus Demon, and I actually like Taurus Demon. I really do. I'm gonna put him in B tier. I think he is kind of like the Asylum Demon, but better. And like, the mechanics are similarly, there's a similar complexity in the mechanics, where I think they are just, if you fight them straight up, the fight is equally engaging with Taurus Demon and Asylum Demon. Maybe a little more so with the Asylum Demon, because you don't have to run, like Taurus Demon, the hitboxes are kind of big and you kind of have to back up. But with the Taurus Demon, I love how you can keep it fresh by approaching the fight in so many ways. You can do it on the bridge. You can do it up top on the platform. You can do it with a plunging attack. You can do it straight up. You can do it by tricking him into jumping off the ledge. There's a rare loot drop, which you get sometimes. It's like, there's so many ways you can mix it up that I think it adds a lot of fun to the fight for me. And I'm going to put it a B tier. Next is Bell Gargoyles, which I think is the first like really good fight in Dark Souls. Some people, just by the virtue of it being a multi-boss, a gank fight, they're going to say it's not good. I think it's a good fight. I think the fact that the second one comes in halfway through, so you've already done a good amount of damage, and it stays passive and kind of just shoots breath. I think it really, because it just kind of stays, you don't get like double teamed very often by axe swings. I think it kind of just makes you think about your positioning more, and I think that's always fun. It also has a tail cut, which I love tail cuts. I think tail cuts are awesome. The scenery is really good because you're up on the roof. It means a lot to the narrative because you ring the bell of awakening afterwards. And so I think like the narrative, the lore, or maybe not the lore, but the plot point, the arena, the mechanics, the tail cut, I think it's a good fight. I'm gonna go A tier. Moonlight Butterfly is not a good fight. Maybe E tier. I don't want to put it in F tier because it's not offensive enough. You know, it's very easy, and at least the ratio of offense to defense is correct, you know, because like I mentioned this with the armor spider, the armor spider ratio of offense to defense is off. You spend too much time avoiding damage, not enough time dealing damage. Where the moonlight butterfly, the ratio, like you spend a lot of time dodging, but then you got a lot of time to deal damage. The problem is that rate, like those time periods of defense and offense, are too long. There's too much time between the transitions of your turn, my turn. It needs to be quicker. That's what really kills this fight. If she only did a couple attacks, if she went up like for 15 seconds maybe and came back down for 10, maybe the fight would be more fun. But she just spends way too much time flying. The lore, it really isn't that cool for me. Like, it's just a product of the fallout of Seath's experimentation into the environment. Yeah, it does help like build some continuity in the world, but really not that interesting lore. Doesn't mean anything to the story. Not that fun mechanically. At least it's balanced. It's very well balanced, I think. So I'm gonna go E. Capra Demon. Here's the thing with Capra Demon. So I said Moonlight Butterfly is not offensive. That's why I can't put it in F. Capra Demon is offensive. However, I can only rate based on my personal experience. When I fought Capra Demon the first time, I already knew about the arena size. I already knew about the dogs. I didn't go in blind. And I had already played Dark Souls 2 and 3. And so I already knew I had to run up the stairs and then kill the dogs and then plunging attack and then resume the fight. And so I never dealt with that frustration of the Capra Demon killing me over and over and not knowing what to do. And so because I never went through that period, I don't have really any bad memories associated with Capra Demon. So I'm going to go C tier. Because I think once you kill the dogs, honestly, it is a very sound, very good fight. If it wasn't for the dogs, I would put him B. Maybe low A. But just from an objective perspective, I can't go any higher for what is objectively a very flawed boss. But for me personally, I have a lot of fun fighting Capra Demon. I think he's one of my favorite in Dark Souls 1, but he's just not very good technically. And so I can't put him any higher, but I have no issues with Capra Demon because of my experience not going in blind. Gaping Dragon, I don't like. The visual design is amazing. The arena is really cool. The music, like the cutscene's really cool, but the actual moveset and mechanics, oh my gosh. This is the first boss in the series, and there are many more like this, when their whole body becomes a hitbox. And I am almost never a fan of when the boss's entire body becomes a hitbox. It's just not fun to avoid. And with the Gaping Dragon, his whole body stays a hitbox for so long when he does the charge. It has a tail cut at least, but other than that, it looks cool. The arena's cool. The fight is not fun. And I don't know about you, but when I played the game, my first time, when I got to the point where I was fighting him, I was getting one-shot by some of his attacks. And so I'm gonna go F. I don't like the Gaping Dragon. I'm sorry. Quelaag. I really like Quelaag. I think of my first playthrough of the game, she was my favorite boss, but not including DLC. But I've seen more problems with her as I've played the game more. I'm gonna put Quelaag in B, and here's why. I think it's a really cool idea experimenting with a boss that leaves like environmental hazards where you're not allowed to walk in a certain area because of the lava. I think that's really fun, really cool. Because on top of that, her base moveset is solid. The reason I can't give her an A is because of a few things. Oh, and also her visual design. Amazing. The arena is also really cool. The point in the story, you kill her, you ring the bell, so that means a lot. But my problem with her is this. You can get caught under her legs, and it can be hard to get out. So if she spins and you're under her legs, she'll like spin you as well. I don't like that. The explosion, because of the particle effects of the game at the time, it's hard for me to tell where the edge of the explosion is. And so sometimes you can get hit thinking that you're outside of the range, or thinking that the pink explosion didn't even touch you. And that can be annoying. And then thirdly, if you stay by the left cheek of the spider head, she can't hit you with any sword attacks. And so it's a little bit cheesable, and you can accidentally cheese her. So I can't give her an A because of those mechanical problems, but I really, really like this boss. I think she's a high B, and I like her a lot. Iron Golem, visually really awesome. You're up on the skyline. You have the sky above you in this giant metal beast. I want to love this fight, but I just don't find it that fun. I think it's cool. You can mix it up by fighting him with or without killing the giant, with or without knocking him off the edge. The problem for me is, well, for one, I think his wind slash is a little hard to avoid, again, because of the particle effects. I also don't like that you have to kill the giants. Really, you have to kill the giants to fight him. I think when it comes to exploration, being rewarded in fights, like I said with the old hero, it should feel like my good exploration is rewarded, not my bad exploration is punished. And with the Iron Golem, it feels like if you don't kill the giants, you get a lesser version of the fight. You get things taken away from you. But if you do kill the giants, you get it back up to baseline. That's what it feels like. Whereas with the old monk, or with the old hero, it feels like if you don't have the ring, it's the normal fight. If you do have the ring, it adds something. And I always feel like when it comes to items in the game being necessary in a boss fight, it should always feel like it is adding something, not taking away. The Iron Golem, it takes away. I think it's pretty much fine outside of like the wind slash and that, but it's just nothing special. It's also annoying that you can be knocked off of the cliff, so I'm gonna go D tier. Ornstein and Smo, O and S. O and S tier, if I may. S tier for me. It's only not an S plus because of the limitations of Dark Souls 1 being older. I think it's a great boss, great balanced, very, very fun challenge. Not a terrible boss run. It's kind of long, but not a terrible boss run. Because you're probably, on your first playthrough, you're probably going to die to this boss. It's pretty tough. But I just think it's balanced perfectly. And some people complain about Ornstein and the charge, the swifting, the lunging attack, and how he can like teleport, or not teleport, but he can like start and stop and start and stop and start and stop. I think that's a non-issue, because even if he does that, even if he has trouble getting around Smo, by the time he really starts the lunge, you can see him clearly. He's still coming from across the boss arena. So that's a non-issue for me. It's also awesome that depending on which one you kill first, you get a different phase 2. That keeps things fresh. Yeah, just an awesome boss fight for me. I think maybe the only other issue is that it is a lot of baiting out one attack. Baiting out the lunge by Ornstein. And so that can be a little bit repetitive. So I can't give it an S+, but it is a great fight. Stray Demon is not a great fight. I don't like this boss. It's going to go F tier because it is like the ultimate reskin. It's the same boss in the same area. And I think they add one move, they add the AoE attack. And it's actually in the same boss, in the same area, arguably the same arena, because you're on the arena and then you just fall like 10 feet down. And it's like the two, I mean, it's exactly the same fight. And I don't like that. Should I even give it an F-? Probably not. At least it's optional, right? If it was mandatory, it'd be one thing. Mandatory reskin is more annoying than an optional reskin, I think. So we're gonna go F. Crossbreed Priscilla. I really like Crossbreed Priscilla. She's very unique. She has the invisibility mechanic, which is super unique and cool, very memorable. She's in the painted world, which is just memorable in itself. She is optional, like even if you go to the painted world, she's optional, because if you don't attack her, she'll let you leave. And you can talk to her, which adds personality. Like, she's very unique, and I want the boss to stand out in some way. And she stands out in a lot of ways. And I think she's okay mechanically. Her moveset's pretty simple, but then again, because she goes invisible, you can't give her super long combos. So I think I'll go B tier for Priscilla. Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn is very similar to the Moonlight Butterfly, but worse. The arena's cool in theory, like an endless hallway, but the thing is, the fight just sucks. And, you know, that ratio, the fight just sucks. And, you know, that ratio I talked about of offense to defense is totally out of whack with Gwendolyn, because you spend so much time dodging and avoiding damage, and then you get like 2 hits, and then he runs away. And that's just not fun. So it would be better, and we'll see this later, when it comes, like, FromSoft really over time got better at these magic mage spellcaster bosses. It would be better if maybe he had some type of close quarters proficiency, so that you could stand and trade blows with him for a little bit before he runs away. But the fact that he just runs away is annoying. It is cool, like the secret of the boss, and you know, the Dark Moon, and you kill Guinevere. That's kind of cool, but it doesn't. That coolness of the secrecy of it and the exploration doesn't make up for the really bad mechanics. But it is good lore and it is a good atmosphere, but it's going to be an F. Sif. I love Sif. Sif is going to be an A for me. But if you go Sif S, I'm honestly not mad at it. I just think sometimes the hitboxes can be kind of weird on Sif. But the cutscene is awesome. The backstory and the lore and what she means in the narrative and the tie with Artorias, all of that is awesome. And then I think I already said the cutscene is awesome. You get 2 different cutscenes. You get another one if you do the certain like DLC first. That's awesome. The visual design of the boss is awesome. It's like a classic fantasy trope of just having this huge direwolf, and that can be done really well. Oh, and then like it's at nighttime, and that just kind of adds to it. And then the moveset, the mechanics are really good. The huge sword is satisfying to dodge. You can kind of just hide under her, but she does have like a get off me move, which like she spins around, and then she has like a backup. She can like jump back, and then when you get her down to low health, she limps. Oh, this boss is great. It's very high S tier, or very high A tier, almost S. It's gonna be A tier for me. Ceaseless Discharge is gonna be our first F-. Hate this boss. This boss sucks. This boss is Discharge. This boss is the Dirty Colossus without fun mechanics. I know he's got some lore, being the brother of the witch, or of the witches, but that just doesn't make up for the fact that this boss is terrible. He's so bad that he can kill himself. He knows how bad he is. That's the thing. He's like, let me save you the trouble because I'm not worth fighting. Let me just walk off the edge. So there's nothing I can say about this boss that I like really. I guess the visual design's cool. The arena's kind of cool with but he just sucks. Demon Fire Sage. I'm gonna go F tier. Um, I mean, it's literally a reskin. Like in terms of they took the skin and just added flames to it, and he's just yeah. I mean, what is there to say? I don't want to go F minus because at least mechanically, it's a fine boss, but it is mandatory, and it's a triple reskin. No, I'm gonna go F because I can't put him in the same tier as like Ceaseless Discharge and Bed of Chaos. Centipede Demon is another boss I want to like because there's a really cool idea there with like, it's kind of like the Hydra, which there is a Hydra in the game, but it's kind of like the Hydra where, you know, it has the multiple heads, but then like the heads can fight on their own, which is really cool. And so I'm gonna go D tier because it would be like a B if the moveset was polished a little more, and if you weren't fighting in the most unimaginably terrible arena in the game. If the arena was better, it would be a C. And if the moveset was better, it would be a B. Because the concept is awesome, but it's just not that good. Bed of Chaos is an easy F minus. I mean, what do I even need to say? Mechanically terrible, looks stupid, not fun at all, and incredibly difficult. Nothing good about it. Seath the Scaleless. I'm gonna go E tier. He's not fun to fight. He's got amazing lore, amazing backstory, and like the environmental storytelling with him is fantastic. But he's a letdown, especially for a boss who's in the trailer, in the opening cinematic. He's a letdown, and he's got a great visual design, but I don't like the fact that you have to destroy that little crystal in the back to make him not invincible. But you also do get the scripted death with him, which kind of adds personality, adds a uniqueness, like a build-up. But destroying the crystal is stupid. I get it makes sense lore-wise, but it doesn't make it fun. And like some of his attacks are like he just wiggles his tentacles. Why does he even have tentacles? He's like, it's like 3 covetous demons are stitched together at his base, and they wiggle around sometimes. I don't like it. And then the other attack is like all the crystals from the ground. E tier for me, very boring, and they really did my boy Seath dirty. The Four Kings, you know, I think a lot of people like the idea of the Four Kings, where you have like the 4 bosses and you got to kill them in time before the next one comes. But here's the thing: if you kill them in time, it's just fighting the same boss 4 times, so there might as well be no break. If you don't kill them in time, you will die. So it's basically, it might as well not be. The gimmick might as well not even be there, because you fight them one at a time and they have all the same moveset. It's basically the same as if one of the kings just had 4 times as much health, you know? So I think it kind of defeats the point of the gimmick. I think the moveset's okay, but some of those ranged magic attacks are just impossible to dodge and they follow you for way too long. The arena's kind of cool. I'm gonna go D tier, I guess. At least it's mechanically solid, like okay to dodge and strafe and stuff, but I can't say anything more than that. Pinwheel, it's gonna be an F from me, dog. AKA Fool's Idol 2.0, but worse, because like I mentioned with the Fool's Idol, having all of the cover and having the traps on the ground adds a lot to the fight. The thing with Pinwheel is when he duplicates around you and there's nowhere to hide from the ranged attacks. I mean, not that you really need them because you're going to kill him so quickly, but you take mandatory damage falling into the arena, and then yeah, like there's no cover for when he duplicates. And if you're going to have a boss that duplicates and surrounds you with ranged attacks, you have to have cover. That's just bad design. And I think with Pinwheel, he's so easy that people don't get a chance to see how badly designed he really is. And so I'm going to go F tier. Nito. I'll go E. You know, I don't know about you. I mean, again, my first playthrough of Dark Souls 1 was not blind. I don't know if I went through blind, if I would have figured out that you need to use the blessed weapon to kill his minions. I don't know how you're supposed to figure that out. Maybe it's on the item description. I don't know. Maybe the blacksmith tells you, the undead one. But I don't think the fight is that good. The minions are annoying, and the under the ground stab is super annoying. I know that there's a tell with the audio, but that doesn't make it good. That doesn't excuse it for me. And I'm not a fan of Nito. At least he's got a great visual design and a really cool arena, but that's all I can say. Gwyn. I love Gwyn. It's gonna be S for me. Some people rate Gwyn lower. Some people think Gwyn's not that good. I think he's fantastic. I think Gwyn is amazing. He is perfect. He's a challenging boss. He's very aggressive. The lore is amazing. The backstory, obviously what he means to the narrative. He is the final boss. And the arena is fantastic. His visual design, the flaming sword is super cool. What could you not like about this boss? Some people say, oh, he's too easy to parry. Okay, but on your first playthrough of Dark Souls, 99% of people are not parrying Gwyn. The only reason that you think he's too easy because you can parry him is because you probably saw a YouTube video of somebody else parrying him, and then you learned, hey, I can parry him easily. So I don't want to hear that. He's amazing. He's a great challenge. And I would say finding healing windows on Gwyn is very tough, because he comes at you, man. Like, if you get hit a couple times and you're one hit away from death, good luck, because he is on you, man. Is he an S+? I don't know. He might be. I think he's like perfect, honestly. Why wouldn't he be an S+? I think maybe his mechanics can be kind of simple. You know, I can't think of a good reason to keep him out of S+, other than the fact that S+ is just reserved for, like, perfection. But my gut is telling me S, so I'm going to keep him an S. Next up, we have DLC. Sanctuary Guardian is a fantastic beast boss. I think Sanctuary Guardian is the best boss in the game that doesn't have a weapon. I mean, it's just natural weapons like claws and teeth, and not a forged weapon. I think I'm going to give Sanctuary Guardian a high B. Probably be the best of these four. Maybe not as good as Quelaag. No, probably better. Probably a high B. I think Sanctuary Guardian's really good. It's just a good boss. And it kind of... you can see the inspiration, I think, in Sanctuary Guardian with beast bosses that come later in the series. Artorias. Just art. He's an S. He's an S. Again, I don't think any Dark Souls 1 boss can be an S+, just because you go back and play them today and they're too simple and too easy. And Artorias is just fantastic, man. I mean, you know, my favorite boss in this game has gone back and forth between a lot of different bosses. Right now, I would say it's Artorias. I think the moveset is probably the most complex of all the swordsmen, other than like Manus. Manus is the most complex, obviously. His moveset's really fun. The lore is amazing. The build-up. There's a little bit of a mix-up, a little bit of variety with how you can approach the fight, because you can you can try to interrupt the phase 2, or you can allow him to do it. I think it's also, this fight is really fun with or without shields, with or without, like, if you just want to shield and strafe, that's fine. If you want to dodge, that's fine too. I think it's fun both ways. It's going to be an S for me. It's just a masterpiece. Black Dragon Calamite. I'm going to go A. You know, everybody says, oh, Midir, best dragon fight in FromSoft. And they're right. Midir's the best, but Kalameet is really good. I love Kalameet. I think their first true dragon fight started off with a bang. I think they started off with a really, really good fight. Great difficulty. I like that you can see him. You can see him flying around before the fight. That builds up to it. You can have Goff shoot him down. It's like, again, that unique interactions, which I value so much. Like with Crossbreed Priscilla, you can talk to her. That's a unique interaction you can have. Black Dragon Kalameet, you can interact with him outside of the boss fight in that way through Goff and through just observing him. If you really want to, you can shoot him down, which is kind of an ode to the Red Dragon and Blue Dragon, which suck. And I think it's a fantastic fight. Some of the only, like, there's some problems with Kalameet, and it's that, it's like an ankle biter boss, and I don't like ankle biting. And that's obviously why Midir is so good, because you hit him in the head. Some of his attacks are kind of unfairly hard to dodge, I think, but he's a fantastic fight. Manus. There was a time where I had Manus as an S+. He's not an S+, he's an S, but he's really, really good. Manus, his moveset is so difficult. He's easily the hardest boss in the game. It's really cool that you have like the silver pendant thing. Again, I like exploration. I like those unique mechanics. It's really cool that you can summon Sif for the fight. That adds a lot to the narrative that you build when you play of your personal playthrough. I would say I have two complaints with Manus. One is that his 5-hit combo is undodgeable. You have to circle strafe to avoid that. You can't like dodge roll out of it. And my other complaint would be the magic. Some of his magic attacks can be too hard to avoid, I think. And it's also, the arena is very dark and it obscures your vision. Maybe that's what they wanted, but that's not what I like. I would like to be able to see my boss a little bit better, and I think he blends into the background too much. So I'm going to go S. So those are my rankings for Dark Souls 1. Submit those. 26 rankings submitted. Go to my tier list. Analysis. Yeah, see, when we do these first 3 games, Demon Souls, Dark Souls 2, we're going to get a lot of Fs, a lot of F minuses, a lot of Es, maybe a lot of Ds. It's going to be bottom half. It's going to be bottom heavy for a while. No S pluses yet, but we have some F minuses. The Dragons, Bed of Chaos, and Ceaseless. Gwyn, probably the best boss on here. Maybe Artorias. Quality by game, not surprised that Dark Souls is ahead of Demon Souls. Dark Souls is a low C, like a C minus. Demon Souls is a D plus, as you can see right there. Binary factors. I have multi-enemy actually higher than single enemy. I guess that makes sense because you have ONS, you have gargoyles, and that's going to skew it up a little bit. But I guarantee multi-enemy fights are going to drop off a cliff after we do Dark Souls 2. Let's see, DLC, no surprise. I have DLCs rated pretty highly as a plus, like a plus type of deal. Yeah, DLC bosses are great, and non-DLC at a D. That seems a little lower than I thought, but okay. It's a bigger gap than I thought it would be. And yeah, humanoid bosses still outperforming non-humanoids. So that's the analysis of my ratings. Next up, we have Dark Souls 2.